What's on your radar today, Ryan?
So if you're like me, there isn't much you enjoy more than a good Wall Street Journal editorial page temper tantrum. Maybe I need a journal version of this mug to put on my desk here. Some writers do their best work angry, not the Wall Street Journal. When they spy injustice being done to the great dignity of American corporations, they start sputtering with rage, unable to spit out a coherent argument. And the columns are all the more delightful for it. Yesterday brought us a classic of the genre. The woman that has the Journal triggered this week is Lina Khan. Khan is the new chair of the Federal Trade Commission, and as an assistant professor at Columbia University, she became a leading intellectual figure in the new anti-monopoly movement. One way to gauge the height of the Journal's dudgeon level on any particular day is to see how quickly they run to the Founding Fathers. In this one, it comes in the first line. Writes the Journal, "Independent federal agencies have power over American life that the founders never imagined. And that reign is about to expand with a vengeance in the Biden era. Witness the unprecedented power grab engineered last week at the Federal Trade Commission by the new chair, Lina Khan." So what is the power grab that has the Journal so bothered? Amazingly, you can read the entire editorial and not once do they mention the actual decision they're angry about. There's a good reason for that, because spoken out loud, their complaint is utterly indefensible. The FTC, by a 3-2 vote, ordered that companies could no longer fraudulently claim their products were made in the USA when they were not, in fact, made in the USA. Since the Journal can't argue that one on the merits, they simply ignore it. Instead, they focus their complaints on the FTC's process. Quote, "The agency eliminated the long-standing role of the agency's chief administrative law judge in presiding over fact-finding and rulemaking. Now Ms. Khan, or someone of her choosing, will preside. The Democrats also killed the requirement that the FTC staff get a majority vote of the commission to start an investigation. Now only a single commissioner can sign off. Subpoenas can also fly at Ms. Khan's discretion." Wait a second. Just a few paragraphs ago, the Journal was saying that the founders were rolling in their graves at the thought of an unaccountable administrative state making policy. Now they're mad that an administrative law judge is getting shut out of the process and that the FTC staff aren't closely enough involved in starting an investigation. This might be the first time in its history the Wall Street Journal has stood up for the sacred rights of FTC bureaucrats. What really has them bothered comes in their next paragraph. Quote, "The commissioners rescinded the bipartisan Obama-era FTC statement adopted in 2015 that the agency follows antitrust law as it has evolved in the courts. This is a sure signal that the 3 Democrats are planning to dump the consumer welfare standard for antitrust that has prevailed for decades. Instead, the agency will replace it with some new standard it hasn't specified," unquote. So first the Journal is defending administrative law judges and FTC staff. Now they're nostalgic for the Obama era. And in a very real sense, they should be, because Lina Khan and her allies aren't rolling over for concentrated corporate power the way Obama's commissioners did. What most shocks the Journal was that Khan and her 2 Democratic allies on the commission are actually governing. The Republicans on the panel threw up every delay tactic they could think of, study the issue more, get more public feedback, etc. And Khan said no. Made in America means made in America. Period. The Journal then argues that actually Lina Khan shouldn't be making any decisions at all because she played a lead role in a bipartisan House investigation into the power of big tech last cycle. It would be unfair to Amazon, they argue. But don't worry, they're not carrying water for Amazon. They promise, quote, "We have no special brief for Amazon," and have criticized its dominance in the e-books market. Oh, well, they've criticized its dominance in the e-books market. I'm sure that had Amazon just quaking in its boots. The Journal goes on. But the point here is about Ms. Khan's blinkered zealotry. Don't expect her to take recusal advice, but the courts may come to a different conclusion. Meanwhile, American business should get ready. The Khan FTC is coming after you. Now, as much fun as it is to chuckle at the Wall Street Journal flailing around, that last paragraph includes some ominous warnings. The reference to the courts is a clear signal. They want the stacked judiciary to make sure regulators can't actually regulate monopolies. And the last part is a plea for big business to fight back. They're going to wage war on Lina Khan and another FTC commissioner they mentioned in the editorial, Rohit Chopra, who's still there awaiting his confirmation to head the CFPB. In Washington, the favored way for businesses to get what they want is what amounts to bribery. But that doesn't work on everybody. So where carrots don't do the job, sticks can be brought in. Back in 2011, I reported on the story of Greg Jasko, and the story has stuck with me. Jasko became chair of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, a regulatory body that the nuclear industry had long ago captured. But Jasko had other ideas and began actually cracking down on the industry's abuses. So the industry orchestrated a brazen behind-the-scenes campaign to destroy him, his career, and his reputation, and they more or less succeeded, driving him out of the commission, which became the subject of his revealing recent memoir. The point wasn't just to destroy and discipline one regulator, but to send a signal that while doing the industry's bidding might be a good way to make a nice, comfortable life, bucking the industry was a way to ruin one. The stick makes the carrot that much more enticing. Lina Khan and Rohit Chopra are actually trying to regulate, and that's a dangerous business to be in. This won't be the last or the toughest shot big business takes at them, and they'll need an army to back them up. They'll also need a press corps able to expose the counterattack that is no doubt being cooked up as we speak. Oh, and in the meantime, I made a t-shirt. Maybe we'll put that in the Rising merch store.
Yeah, I mean, I'd wear it. Good job. I didn't know you were sort of a fashion designer.
Just a little bit of Google, and there you go.
It's like the Anna Wintour of the populist left.
Yeah, how do you make a T-shirt? I wanted to make a mug, but I couldn't quite fit Wall Street Journal tears onto the mug. So I'm like, how about a T-shirt?
Yeah, that works even better. No, I think you actually got into this really interesting tension, which is that the Wall Street Journal editorial board doesn't actually want these regulators to go away. They want the regulators to do what they want them to do. It's not about actually getting rid of regulators. It's about the regulators doing the bidding of big business.
Right. And there was a great story in Politico yesterday evening in one of their trade newsletters that Lina Khan's chief of staff has told the staff at the FTC, cancel all your public appearances. And there's this amazing quote from Jen Howard in there that says, look, we're not here to talk, we're here to regulate. We're understaffed, we've got a wave of mergers coming in. We need to get serious about actually regulating and doing what Congress has delegated us to do. And so she told all these senior staff, if you're speaking at these different corporate or industry conferences, cancel them. We're pausing all of these. We're not, that's not what we're here for, because for decades in Washington, that's what regulators have done. And that's what the staff at these commissions have done. You just get to know the people in the industry. You work there for 5-10 years, and then you become a partner in the firm that represented the companies that are coming before your commission. The advantage that Chopra and Khan have this time around, and can we put up this tweet from Josh Hawley? I want to get your reaction to this. So after Amazon had pushed Khan to recuse herself from any investigations around Amazon, Josh Hawley, a Republican, comes out and says precisely why she was a good choice for the FTC. He was the first one out of the gate defending this progressive Democrat who's now chair of the FTC. She had 21 Republicans vote for her confirmation, which is practically a record, except for the people that go through on a unanimous voice vote. So business is going to have to be more creative when they try to destroy her.
Well, I would echo Josh Hawley's sentiment as it relates to the Wall Street Journal's editorial, because they also say, you read this quote, business, watch out, Lina Khan's FTC is coming for you. And to echo Josh Hawley, that's precisely why she's a good choice for the FTC. And it's strange to see this. I mean, it's obviously totally predictable and makes complete sense, but it's funny sort of to see this, curious to see this from the Wall Street Journal editorial board, which is if these businesses that they're sort of concerned about Lina Khan zeroing in on weren't wildly corrupt and abusing their insane amount of power, then you wouldn't have this situation to begin with. I mean, when you have the sort of businesses that have grown to the size that some of these companies have, and they're abusing it, It's enormously frustrating because people who want to see a fair free market system and believe that sort of the thing that actually lifts people and is the engine of efficiency, et cetera, as I'm sure everybody at the Wall Street Journal editorial board would say, they should want to sort of like tend to the garden. Like they should want to cut the weeds. They should want this to be taken care of. And that gets to the point earlier that we were talking about, which is that they don't want these regulators to go away. They don't really want that. They just want the regulators to do what they want them to do.
Right. And the Journal has warned about concentrated corporate power before. They just don't want concentrated corporate power to be regulated as an antitrust matter. And the most they can bring themselves to say that maybe Amazon has too much power in the Kindle market.
Yeah, well, listen, the ebook market, they have come out.
We have spoken out against their dominance in the ebook market. Get out of here.
Get out of here. And this is, again, the editorial board that just about a month ago, we covered this, came out and said, listen, the ProPublica leak, the real problem here is that the documents were leaked. Right. Like that's what they said. They were like, They literally said the real problem is not what's happening with the taxes. It's the fact that the documents were leaked, as though both things couldn't be true, and as though it's much more important to focus on how those documents got leaked than the fact that our oligarchs are not paying anything into the system, essentially.
Yeah, it's 2021, and they're talking about Amazon and ebooks. But I'm looking forward to seeing what's on your radar next.